And we're back.
That is just freaking aggravating. So it kicked me out of my stream and wouldn't let me back into my stream. So I couldn't jump back in and get the stream going again. So whatever happened there, I don't know. But here we are. So sorry about that, folks. We're back.
Yeah.
Take two. So the last time we talked about what's up on the plate. So
Let me go grab.
you gonna take the dog out? Well, I'm gonna get into talking about building terrain boards. So one of the things I want to do, round two, right? Yeah, I want to get a terrain board. I actually want to build a full size 4x6 board for playing on. But I want to have it take. I got a couple of projects I want to work with that because I also really like game mats. So game mats are a lot less effort, and I can just put scatter terrain on them. So it's kind of 6 of one, half dozen of the other. I guess it all comes down to creativity, and that's one of the big things in this hobby.
Yeah.
Is managing creativity and not getting over indulgent. I've got 3 different armies that I'm in the midst of building. I've got an Imperial Guard army I'm building. I got a Knight army that I got to get started on that goes with the Imperial Guard army. I've got a kill team worth of orcs that I'm working on. What else do I got building right now? What I got? I still have a few more wolves I'm building. I'm helping him get his Imperial Guard together, which are completely different from my Imperial Guard. So, plus I'm trying to run a channel. Plus I'm trying to build terrain. Plus I'm plus. So, that's actually one of the editorial things I want to talk about at some point soon. But that's a big thing. Managing your creative time. This is a hobby. It shouldn't be your life.
Yeah.
And I've talked about budgeting your money and some of your time for your hobby. I've talked about that in the past. And I think one of the important things is that when you have a hobby that you enjoy, you don't want to have it take over your life. And I'm trying really hard to not let that happen. Lady Dragon has got to go for surgery soon. We had to rearrange a few things. She was actually supposed to go in last week, but we had to reschedule. So she's going to be getting back surgery. So when she gets that back surgery done, she's not going to be able to play for a while. She's going to be, kind of homebound for a bit. So I have to manage my time. She can't be on her back, though. She has to be seated. The doctor doesn't want her laying down because that's bad for the back after surgery. So, that's the thing. We're going to have to manage our time. But we're going to have to be home a lot. So, more project time. But I want to spend time with her.
Yeah.
I'm also trying to, watch some of these movie services I pay for. Like, I just finally got through season 2 of Punisher. I think I'm a season and a half behind on Walking Dead because I haven't been watching TV. I just watched The Boys.
I know I haven't watched any TV.
Did you even watch season 8 of Game of Thrones?
No, I did.
Okay.
I did. It was trash.
Yeah.
I did.
We're not starting that debate.
We're
not starting that debate.
I'm not wrong.
We're not starting that debate.
I'm not wrong.
Please, no. All right. So the other thing about hobby. Let's talk about the hobby. Let's talk about it. What part of the hobby do you love the most? Because it's really funny. One of the things I see ongoing over and over are people talking about Warhammer. Let's talk specifically about Warhammer, just Warhammer itself. So Warhammer 40K, AOS, all the everything under the Games Workshop umbrella.
Yeah.
Let's just talk about that as a hobby.
I guess Lord of the Rings thing too.
Nobody plays Lord of the Rings.
Hey, that is not true. I know 2 whole people who do. They don't even play with each other.
Don't get me wrong. I love the look of those figures.
Yeah.
Those Rohan houses that are coming out, I want to actually buy a couple of those Rohan houses. Think how good those would look in a Skyrim-themed fantasy D&D campaign.
Yeah, that's all I'm looking to buy those figures for.
Yeah, I mean, they're fabulous. I'm not going to play the game. I mean, there's a Song of Fire and Ice. There's so many good games out there. So many good mini games out there. I'd die if I played everything. I want to play that Imperialis Aeronautica game. No, it's great. It looks like X-Wing. You remember when we were playing the original version of the X-Wing game? The
really unbalanced one?
Yeah, the really unbalanced one. But it was still fun to play.
I mean, most of the time.
It was fun to play. This is like that, but more balanced. And the figures you get to paint yourself, and they look great, and I like them. But I'm not getting another game. I am Titanica. Titanicus is another one. I mean, the Games Workshop Titanicus game. It's just playing with knights. Just knights, small scale knights.
But like, you can't use those on the normal tabletop.
No, it's its own game.
That's my issue with it.
Like, that's the whole thing. It's its own game, and that's the problem.
I want to play Apocalypse, where I can use those big knights and put them on an actual table.
But you don't have enough figures to play.
Of course I don't, because I'm broke.
All right. That being said, but that's the point. I mean, I know people that spend more time talking about the hobby than actually playing.
Fair.
Painting, building, constructing lists. Like a perfect example, my buddy Nick. Nick started playing. I mean, I've known Nick for a while. I learned Nick started playing the game only maybe 6 months ago, 5 months ago, just a few months back.
Yeah.
I have never seen Nick roll dice playing the game. I've never seen him play the game.
Fair.
I've seen him painting that night and repainting that night. And trying to find figures for his Helverins, pieces for his Helverins. But I've never actually seen him put an army on the table and roll dice. Now I'm going to be also fair. This guy next to me,
no, I'm not.
I've seen him roll dice 2 weekends. We had, you do have a challenge being thrown down. Anytime, man. I got 2,000 points of Death Guard that got your name written all over it. Anytime you want to go. I got 2,000 points of Wolves. They're not as good as my Death Guard, but they want to go. So, but I'm just as guilty of it. Because I've got 3,000 points plus of Death. I've got probably about close to 4,000 points of Death Guard built. I've got just under 3,000 points. Actually, after I get a few more things done, I'll actually have probably 3,500 points of Space Hulks built and painted and ready to go. When I'm done with this army I'm building for Imperial Guard and Knights, it's the first time I built an army. I bought the figures and based the army on what, and I didn't just build and then put an army for what I've got. I'd love to see him. I mean, Nick, I'm just saying it. You're a great painter. I love the work you do. I really do. I love the work you've done. But that's the thing. Like I said, this Imperial Guard is the first army I've built where I knew what I was buying before I bought them, because I did the list before I bought them.
Yeah.
I have played a dozen games, maybe a dozen games of 40K since I got back into the hobby in February.
Yeah.
And the only reason it happened is because I joined a league where there was a game every week. So there was a reason to come and play, set up, ready to go. I didn't have to arrange anything. I just had to clear my schedule and go and play every week. I got 2 weeks left of that. I got 2 weeks left of that league. And then I don't know. I would love to set up like another league like that. I'd like to set one up actually at the Games Workshop store. I play it more often because they got a bigger crowd there. I'd love to set up like a Warhammer Saturday where you come in and you play 2 games and we do like a double elimination tournament over the course of a couple weekends. Or people show up at noon and you're playing 3 games.
Yeah.
You're playing 3 games. There's a time limit. We get a clock timer and you're playing 3 games. And, best record, best points and all that, that scales up and you get a tournament going. I mean, I know the manager of the store would be down for it. I'd love to do it. I think on a whole, because of the nature of this hobby, we spend so much time talking about it that we don't spend the time playing it. And that's okay. I mean, I love the painting. I mean, this guy, my new Chaos Lord for my Death Guard army, that is completely kit bashed and all their pieces. I love this guy. I loved building and painting this guy. He was a lot of fun. I really wanted to do a Chaos Lord and Terminator armor, and I built one, and he's amazing. But I didn't build these guys to just put them on a shelf.
Yeah.
And so I played Kill Team, and I was doing Kill Team every Friday for a while there, and then we did every other Friday. And now I haven't gone in 2 weeks because I haven't gone the last couple weeks because I just haven't been in the mood to get together because of Lady Dragon's back and whatnot. That's had a lot to do with it. But I mean, the hobby, part of it's building, part of it's prepping, part of it's planning, part of it's painting, part of it's building.
Shipbuilding.
But all of that should be half of the hobby, and the other half should be playing. And I'm lucky if a 1-to-10 ratio right now.
Fair.
And I'm lucky because I love painting and I love building, so I don't mind it that much. But there's a lot of guys that I see down at the shop that are. There's some guys that see the opposite too, which is, I don't know if that's any better. There's a guy that plays in my league that I really like. I really like the guy. I think he's awesome. He's good at playing. He's good at the game. We've been playing this Escalation League for 12, 14 weeks now. And most of his figures are black primered, and that's it.
What?
He's playing, actually, I don't want to go into it because he knows who he is, but he's got a great army. He hates playing my Death Guard, and I built my Wolves because I figured he was going to be the guy I was going to play against. So I wanted to get a different army against him. I love the stuff he does. Can you get the dog out of here and get him in the living room?
Why?
Because he's noisy.
He's a good boy. Why should be in here? Go on in, Paul.
I would like to see camp. And that's the other thing. I would love to get, I don't know, 8 guys together, 8 people, 6 people, and have a dedicated campaign. Even if you just ran one of the campaigns, I've been looking at the Coming Storm, which is actually 7th edition, but because they've got the Yanari stuff in there, and Lady Dragon is a Yanari player, I've been looking at that book there. I would love to play that, or the Vigilus campaign. I mean, there's 2 books for Vigilus. There's campaign stuff in there. You get 8 guys together. The agreement is that, you got to have, some couple people playing Xenos, and then a few people playing Chaos of some form or another, and then the rest of them playing Imperium. And you play out that campaign, and you play it over, you're playing it with even if you're playing it as a narrative, but playing that, and putting in kill team, having kill teams, and you're playing the same army, so you've got to play the same faction every week, but having a kill team week, and then depending on who won and did what in the kill team week, then that affects what happens in, say, the standard week, and maybe go back and forth a couple times. So it's kill team one week, then 40K the next week, then kill team 1 week, then 40K the other week, and you get to a point where then, okay, now we're playing Armageddon, and you play Apocalypse. Or he says Armageddon, I think he meant Apocalypse, and then play an Apocalypse game, but you're playing a multiplayer Apocalypse game where you've got
that would take an actual day to play through.
Yeah, but I mean, actually, no, the Apocalypse rules run really fast.
You sure?
Yes, no, they actually they do.
Because all of the channels that I've seen do reports on Apocalypse, this was 8 hours of gameplay.
They're playing old Apocalypse. The new Apocalypse rules run about as fast as 40K. And okay, so you're playing. The only difference, really, I mean, honestly, I've looked at the rules over and over. You know what the difference between Apocalypse is and Apocalypse and 40K is?
What?
Okay, in 40K, I've got this unit, this unit, this unit, and this unit. Let's say I've got 8 units.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to move each of my 8 units, and that's what I'm playing.
Mm-hmm.
Apocalypse is the same thing. It's just instead of a unit, it's a detachment. It's an excuse to put 5,000. Yeah, old school Apocalypse would take. Yes, it would absolutely take a whole weekend. It would play a weekend for 2 people to play. But that's what I'm saying. If you play the new Apocalypse rules, the new Apocalypse rules, it's the same as 40K with some additional neato rules. But fine, let him in. So you just shut up. Sorry, I have this big dopey dog, and he sees us in here, and he wants to be in here and be loving.
You don't get to be in here.
Sit down. He's a good boy, but he's an idiot. Did they get dinner? Yeah, they have food in their bowl. Okay. He's a good boy. He's just an idiot. He just wants love. All right. Yeah, the thing is, the big thing about it's basically the same thing, but instead of moving a squad, you're moving a detachment. It's the same basic rules.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's basically the same rules. It's not ridiculous, but it's a way to actually put 10,000, 15,000 points of figures on a table and be able to play, and it not take an entire weekend to play a single match.
Still, 10,000 points of Imperial Guard sound like...
I got a picture of it on Reddit. Somebody put down 15,000 points of Imperial Guard, and it was only 3 Baneblades. So give you an idea
how much in infantry is that?
Well, he had 3 Baneblades. I want to say he had 15. I think he had 15 Layman Russes. He had. It may have even been more than 15,000. It may have been 25,000 points because he had 40 vehicles. Because he had Wyverns, and he had Basilisks, and he had Chimeras, and he had the Layman Russes, and then he had one entire brigade of just Scions. So he had the 6 squads of Scions, plus they all had vehicles, plus it was
Imperial Guard Apocalypse versus Tyranids. Sounds like there's not enough room on the table for that many minis.
And then there is, because remember, you play Apocalypse on a bigger board.
Oh yeah, no, I know. it still sounds like
No, you don't understand. They had an apocalypse. They had an apocalypse terrain set for sale when Apocalypse came
the
out.
parking.
Yeah. Here's the thing, Nick. They had for sale when they first started selling all the Apocalypse box sets. Oh, $170, and you get a huge Apocalypse box set of figures, and they were great. I got two of them back there. But then they had the Apocalypse terrain kit.
How much for?
It was $1,500.
What the?
It was 2 full sets of the Zone Imperialis boards. So it was 12 boards. And then it was 3 or 4 of every Sector Imperialis terrain kit. So it was like there was like 4 shrines of the Aquila. There was, it was ridiculous. They might even still have it. It was absolutely ridiculous. $1,500 worth of terrain. I wanted it badly. Look at this board. Yeah. I'll be honest. I'm making my own knockoff versions, but I really want a Zone Mechanicus. I want a whole bunch of the Zone Mechanicus gear. I really do. I love their Mechanicus. And that's the problem. Games Workshop wants all my money, and if I had unlimited money, they'd have it all. The wife and I joke about if we actually hit the lotto, because what non-human terrain do you want to see? That's an easy question. I don't think there's enough Tau terrain. I don't think there's enough Eldar terrain. There's 3 pieces of Tau terrain. That's it.
Yeah, but it's Tau terrain.
I want to see it.
But Tau.
I want to go to their house and kick their ass and take their land.
Fair, but Tau.
I want their terrain was cool. I want Eldar terrain. Actually, what I would love to see them do a box set. And this is a box set I would drop $150 on, just like that. I would love to see them do a box set, especially with this Psychic Awakening coming out, of one of the Exodite. Okay, it's enough. One of the Exodite worlds, one of the ones that they abandoned. I would love for them to do an Eldar ruin box set, which is nothing but like Eldar ruin buildings and shrines and all kinds of arrays of technology. Because the only Eldar terrain I have ever seen is the Webway Gate, and way back in the day, really back, I'm going to say like mid-90s, there used to be a Forge World kit for a Eldar. It was like an Eldar listening post or something. I remember it had like a tower and a spire and a weird looking dish on it, and that was it. I would love to see like an Exodite abandoned world
or a craft world.
That's
like,
what the
No. I mean like straight up on a craft world ship. Like we have the Imperium, like on an Imperium ship.
Oh, you mean like
yeah, like literally on one of their vessels, and it'd be like an Eldar versus Tyranids box.
But here's the thing: they haven't done that Imperial on a ship box set. I mean, they did it with Space Hulk, but that's a Space Hulk. They haven't actually done an interior box set in years.
Fair.
I'd like to see them do some more terrain. The Eldar have nothing. They have a Webway Gate. That's it. So if they could do, especially like I said with Psychic Awakening, if they could release a box of Eldar terrain or just a line of Eldar terrain, I think that'd be great.
Do they have Dark Eldar terrain?
No.
Well, we need some Kamara.
Well, again,
terrain.
But that's the whole thing. That's the same terrain.
It's not. It is not the same.
It is the same.
No,
terrain.
It is not.
Whatever.
It's more like chaosy feeling terrain.
There's the other thing. How about some terrain where stuff's been twisted by chaos?
They have that in the it's the Damon's box. The Damon's versus Damon's box.
There's no terrain in there. There's an altar. That's it.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm talking for hallways for the Emperor. You know what? Speaking of which, they need to re-release. They need to stop doing it as a limited release. They need to release Space Hulk. They need to freaking release that box set. It's a great game. It's a great game. They need, if they had it in release, it would sell. It would sell, it would sell, and it would sell. You know, again, because my passion is terrain, it would give me a second Tau unit. It would give me another set of Reavers. I would love to buy, and it would give me that wonderful Mechanicus terrain. I would love to buy the new Kill Team box set. The problem with it is $60 of it is another copy of the Kill Team rulebook.
Yeah,
I don't need a copy of the Kill Team book.
Yeah. Please take out the Kill Team book, just like.
But that's the problem. You take out the Kill Team book. You take out the Kill Team book, and they'd probably sell it for the same price.
You know, you're not wrong. Wish I could say you were, but
having a backup. I mean, I guess it's not a bad idea, just because, I mean, you're talking about the figures. It's a box of, okay, so you look at it by the straight numbers. It's a box of Fire Warriors, which is $40. It's a half a box of Reavers, which is $30, because the Reavers box is $60. So 40 and 30, that's $70.
The book is like 60.
The book's 60. So that's, right now you're talking 130?
Yeah.
130.
How much is the actual?
Oh, the terrain that's in there is easily $100 for the terrain.
And how much is the full set?
$150. $160. Although I would get it, I honestly, I would probably go to Amazon and get it, because I can get it for like $135 on Amazon. So, I mean, it's worth it. It's still worth it. Plus, you get 2 sets of tokens and an extra set of the cards, which if you didn't buy the box set and you didn't win a tournament, I did, you don't have a copy of the terrain cards. So, you know, it wouldn't be, it's not a bad buy. The terrain almost by itself makes it worth it. You know, so there's also now and you talk about box sets. I mean, if I can buy a box set over buying individual units, I'm almost always going to buy the box set. Wake the Dead, I want another copy of Wake the Dead. It's a great deal. With what all came in there, great deal. Dark Imperium, even though it comes with a rule book, which I don't mind having a backup copy of rulebook. So that's why when you said backup copy, not a bad idea for Kill Team. Getting another copy of the Dark Imperium box set, one of the things I want to get it for is because there's a backup copy of the book, but also there's so many figures in there. I mean, that's just a great deal. And I want the Death Guard. Where are you going? Okay, I thought you were going to be with me till 9. Around till 9. All right, everybody, wave goodbye to Lame Ray as he's leaving.
See you, folks.
So I'll just be me for the rest of the time, all by myself.
Come on, dude.
All by myself. No, go on.
See you guys.
So, speaking of box sets, though, there's apparently this rumor, and it's been heavily substantiated by a couple insiders that know things. There's supposedly a box set coming out that's supposed to be orcs, and the rumor is going to be Black Templars. I don't know if it's going to be Black Templars. I'm guessing they're probably going to go with one of the 6 Marine sets that they're just about to release. Now they just released 2 new, or they will releasing this weekend 2 more sets of the new Marines. But yeah, I mean, orcs need the love, and getting a bunch of Marines, a bunch of Primaris, it's not a bad idea. Shadow Spear, God, that thing's still for sale. They took it off the market. Now it's back up there. I want to buy another copy. A lot of good Marines in there, and the Chaos side's gorgeous. And half the figures on the Marines on the Chaos side, they haven't said anything about announcing. That Spider figure is actually a really, really good Demon Engine. I wish I could take it as Death Guard. But if I were to get another box of that, I would really think about maybe starting a non-Death Guard Chaos Army. So I've been wanting to do a Slaaneshi army anyhow, because, you know, Slaanesh. I love Slaanesh. Slaanesh and Nurgle are what got me into the Chaos side of things. So I think Games Workshop should release more box sets. I think they should have them and have them out longer. Tooth and Claw is another really great box set. I still think that's a box that I want to get. One of the bits that got sent to me, I noticed, when I got the box from IDCI Gear, one of the bits I got looks like I think that's the back end of the Keller morph that comes out of that box set. If not, it's the Keller morph that comes out of Kill Team. But I think one or both halves of them are in here. So I'm not really that much into the Gene Stealers. But I mean, again, had a box set option. It's one of the reasons I think the whole it's one of the reasons I think the whole start collecting boxes are great too. I'd like to see them do more terrain in boxes too. But yeah, as far as non-human terrain, let's go back to that. Let me get off my tangent there. I'd love to see an Eldar, some more Eldar terrain. I'd love to see more of the Xenos terrain. I'd love to see more, what do you call it? The Tau terrain. The Tau terrain is so cool looking. I'd love to see more of it. The Orcs don't really have any. I mean, the Orcs have a Met Boys workshop. I think that's the only terrain they have as well. I'd love to see more Orc terrain, but the problem is, I mean, what do the Orcs have? They're basically trash piles because they just kind of go where they go. I mean, you could see like an Orc fort, and you know, actually, they have done that before. Although I think it was fantasy side. I'd love to see some more Orc fortifications. I think actually having things that look like Necron tombs, I think, you know, if they had like a piece where Necrons, you know, could come out of the ground and stuff, Necrons would be great. I mean, the reality is that the Imperium is Games Workshop's bread and butter. I mean, the Marines are their bread and butter. That's their most popular figures. That's their most popular units. And when a new set of figures comes out, yes, those jump up for a few months at a time. But I think in the long run, it really is the Marines and the Imperium on a whole that got people and caught people's attention. And they were like, oh, this is cool. And then they got to another army when they kind of got in, but it caught their attention. It's noticeable with Shan, Lady Dragon, when she was looking at Age of Sigmar, she was looking at the Sigmarites and like, these are really cool. And they got her looking. And honestly, the Sigmarites look like Marines. They're pretty close to Marines. I mean, honestly, they're pretty close to Marines. I saw a wonderful conversion where somebody took a bunch of Sigmarites and turned them into Grey Knights, and they were perfect. So there you go. Yeah, she's doing Drukhari, and that got her in further into 40K. But I think most people that get into it, I think they see the Marines first, and that's the big draw. That's why the Marines are always on the box. That's their boys. That's their golden boys. You go out to Warhammer World, and there's a Marine. There's a 12-foot tall bronze Marine standing in front of that place. So you look at their heroes, these quick grab bag boxes. The first two sets were Space Marines. The first one were tactical. The next one were Terminators. The new one that's out in Japan right now is Plague Marines. So that's why all their terrain is Imperial. And I think that's a shame. I think if they were to do more Xenos stuff, I think they would do well. I mean, the Eldar are getting new figures. I think Eldar terrain would be good. I think one of the big things I'm glad they're not doing, because the game has matured enough for it. I was playing early enough in the day that there weren't all the factions there are now. I mean, when I first started playing, there was Eldar, there was Dark Eldar, and I don't even think, I seem to remember when the Dark Eldar came out. I don't think the Dark Eldar and the Eldar were even in the very first edition. I remember Marines and Orcs being in the very beginning. And Chaos wasn't even fully fleshed out at that point. It wasn't until, a few years in, until after the Slaves of Darkness books, that Chaos really got fleshed out. So, that's a thing. Necrons and Tau didn't come out till either the really late 90s or the early 2000s. So they weren't around to start off with. The Imperial Knights, they were talked about, but you didn't see them actually in play in the 90s when I started playing. I mean, they're a relatively newer edition. They didn't have really... They had epic rules. That was the thing. They had epic rules when you played the epic version of the game. But I think if they were to add add a new faction, I think one of the things they should do is they should make sure when they add a faction, they make it a point to add terrain with them. But I don't think they need another faction. I think I already think there's so many factions that don't get any love that the last thing they need to do is add another faction. I mean, look how long it's taken the Sisters to get some love. The Eldar are a perfect example of just somebody who hasn't gotten love in well over a decade. The Sisters of Battle, there are some sculpts that are still... Some of the sculpts, now they're finally being replaced, but some of the current sculpts go back to the mid-90s. I can look at a Rhino, and the Rhino sculpt, I understand it's a new sculpt, but I'd have to see it compared to an old 90s Rhino to be able to tell you what the differences are, because it doesn't look really any different to me. So I think they're going the right route. I think they've kind of hit a maximum point. There's a lot of the Ministerium and the Inquisition that they're not getting anything new. They don't have anything new. Some of those figures are ancient, and I don't see a lot of them getting any more love. I think you're going to see some of these figures kind of fade away in obscurity. I think a perfect example of that is the Sisters of Silence. I think they made them when there was that huge Horus heresy push during 7th, when a lot of the newer groups that I'm used to, like the Custodes, when they all got their new models. But the Sisters of Silence, they got a single box. They got 3 boxes, I guess. But they don't even carry them at the stores anymore. they're gone. You can't actually field them as an army. You can't actually field them as a points giving. You can't field them as a regular detachment. You have to take CP back from your army to be able to field them because they don't have a single HQ yet. Squats. Oh, don't even get me started on squats. I had somewhere in my stuff, I've lost it over the years. I had the squat bike. There was a metal figure that was the squat bike. It was a squat on a huge motorcycle with these huge monkey bars and a sidecar, and there was a squat in the sidecar with a freaking machine gun, and there was a huge keg on the back, and it was awesome. And squats just kind of got forgotten about, but they're still around now because they've put them in the Blackstone Fortress. They put a pair of squats in the Blackstone Fortress, and they put the ratlings, which are basically squats, although they're not, but they are, but they're not. Whatever, they're squats. They're and they said, well, if you still have them, you just run them as regular Imperial Guard, but they're not Imperial Guard. I mean, they are Imperial Guard, but they were different. Yeah, I mean, squats getting taken out of the game, and I guess it was mainly because what they should have done, they should have kept the squats in and made them part of the Imperial Guard on a whole. There wasn't enough different squats to make them their own army. And the problem is that the squats really kind of were a crossover between the Imperial Guard and the Mechanicus, because they had a lot of they had weird, squat junk rules and stuff. And I like the Mechanicus. Don't get me wrong, I like the Mechanicus. The problem is that you look at a lot of units and how really different are they? And I mean, it's really gotten to a point where it's almost like just a flavor difference. There's really not a difference. I mean, we'll see what happens with the Sisters of Battle, because they're going to be releasing their codex with them. They're finally going to get a codex instead of them just being a kicker to somebody else's codex. And I'm wondering how that's going to work, because when you actually look at the Sisters of Battle, what all do they have? They've got their basic troops. They've got the Repentias. They've got their the Penitent Engines. They have their Canonists. They have their Hospitalier, their healer. And then they have their vehicle that's like the organ that fires missiles. It looks like a giant steam organ on the back of a rhino that fires missiles. But what else do they got? If you look at their line, you look at their current line. Oh, and the Seraphim. So they got the Seraphim. So they've got a fast attack unit. They've got a elite unit. They don't have a heavy support unit, so are they going to create a group that's just heavy support? They're going to have, well, I guess the missile launcher would be heavy support. So I guess those missile vehicles are heavy support. So I'm wondering I mean, the Sisters only have, 6-7 units. How are they going to turn that into a full army? So you look at the other units that have armies, and you look at how the other units that have gotten updated. The Sisters were supposed to be part of the Inquisition. So when they release this new Sisters of Battle Codex, are they going to include the Inquisition units in there? I got a lot more questions about them because I like the Sisters of Battle. I've liked them for a long time. The way units are put together, the way armies are put together now, are much better considering the way they were put together in 5th and 6th, and where there had to be percentages of certain things, and you had to sit there and try and figure out percentages. And now it's just like you need 1 unit of this, 1 unit of this, 3 of this, 1 of this, and that's your army. and you just need X number of units. You have this number of points, and you have to have this number of units, and you can fit whatever you want in there. And if you can get multiple, detachments, this is what a detachment is. I like those build rules. So our sister's going to be able to run solo. I mean, I'm really curious about that, because the first question that comes to mind when I look at any army, are they going to be competitive? Are they going to be competitive? They got to answer two questions. What do they do about knights, and what do they do about hordes? Because those are the two kinds of armies that are the most effective in competitive play. Well, they've got the ability to handle hordes. They've got lots of DACA, lots and lots and lots of small DACA. They can small DACA. They can take care of orcs. They can take care of Imperial Guard. They can take care of Gene Stealers. They've got that end of the game fine. What the heck are they going to do about knights? If I put 1,500 points of knights on the table with a loyal 32 to back them, what are Sisters of Battle going to do about knights? Right now, I don't see anything they have. I don't see anything they have that can do anything about it, unless you're going to attach knights to them. And then they're just another Imperial army. Then they're just Marines with boobs. I mean, honestly, at least Marines have some high-end DACA, like with some of the new things in the rule book, with the new Marine rule book. They've got some ways. There's a new rule they were talking about with the Ravens, the new nuns with guns. There's the Shadow Ravens, are the Corax guys, the new guys that they just announced. There is a stratagem in there that you can apply to your army, that if you're playing intercessors with the heavy bolt rifles, ones that are a heavy one, they're like a 30-inch and the damage to their really good gun. They get a +1 to damage characters, and almost always at least one knight's got to be a character. They can target characters, and they get a +1 to damage versus them. 15 intercessors firing those weapons. Somebody figured out that it's like they can end up, because of the way the stratagems work and everything stacks up, they can put 15 wounds on a knight in one round on average. Their average, considering the 3+ or the 3+, the 4+, everything, the involved save, they should on average be able to put 15 wounds on a knight in one round, just using intercessors. With guns, with regular old-fashioned bolt rifles. They got to play the heavy ones, but still, that's good. That's them handling big dudes. That's them going against a Chaos Knight. That's them taking out a Storm thing, the giant mecha from the Tau. I mean, they've got the ability to take on big stuff. So what are they going to do with the nuns? I'd like to see them do something with them, because I mean, if they're good, I'm going to get them. I'm probably gonna getting them, because they've been one of. I love the iconography. I love the symbology. I love the way they look. I think they're beautiful figures, and I think the beauty of the figures is part of the draw for me. I got into a debate with a guy today about the Death Guard, because he thinks Typhus is an ugly figure, and I'm like, are you crazy? That's a gorgeous figure. He's like, he's too cartoony. He's got that ridiculous pose, and he's got that Nurgling hanging off his side, and he looks like a Scooby-Doo villain. And I'm like, then you don't like the Death Guard. It's not that you don't like Typhus. You don't like the Death Guard aesthetic, because they all look like that. He is like the epitome of what the Death Guard look like. And he's like, no, I like 95% of the figures. I just don't like that one. And I'm like, you're insane, because Mortarion has a half dozen Nurglings on his base that all look ridiculous, because Nurglings look ridiculous. There's that Nurgling champion, the Death Guard. I want the guy. He's hilarious. He's just a champion. He's just a guy that, leads a squad of Plague Marines. But he's like standing there looking all badass. He's got a little Nurgling on the ground that's wearing his helmet. And that Nurgling's just like, oh my god. And it's ridiculous looking. The Nurgling, the Death Guard, the Death Guard squad leader that's in the easy to build box, his stomach is a giant gnashing mouth. They are ridiculous, cartoony looking figures. They're gorgeous. I love them. So I don't understand where he's saying they're aesthetic and that Typhus doesn't fit in that aesthetic. It's like he's the perfect epitome. I think it's a matter of just he doesn't like the figure because the old figure looked much more menacing. The old figure was half the size of this guy. The old figure was tiny. He was a good figure, but he was tiny compared to. And that's the thing. A lot of these Marines, they've all gone up in size. And that's very noticeable with the new Nuns with Guns, because I looked at Sister Amalia and she's huge. She's as big as a Marine. They're supposed to be just regular women. She dwarfs Imperial Guard. There's another guy that, God, those Imperial Guard need new figures. I mean, yeah, they got plastic Imperial Guard, but God, those sculpts are just like, they need new sculpts. I like where Games Workshop is going with what they've got right now. I really do. I like the direction they're going. I'm excited for the Psychic Awakening. I can't wait to see what it actually means. I'm hoping it means that we're going to see more Primarchs, both on the side of Chaos and on the side of the Imperium. But I'm also hoping it means we're going to get to see some of the big name people from other factions. The Drukhari have 3 named characters, I think. I think it's 3 or 4. There's like 1 Archon. There's the guy that's in charge of the guy that is in charge of Kamara, and there's a witch. She's basically a succubus. And I think that's it. I think there's an Archon, him, and that. I think that's it. I think there's just the 3 of them. I think they need a couple more named figures. I think they need to actually expand their line a little bit too. But we'll see with this Psychic Awakening. I think we're going to see more Ynnari out of both the Eldar and the Drukhari. I think we're going to see new Drukhari specific units, or units that are specific to new units that have a Drukhari bend to them, like they showed with the Exarch. I think that'd be cool. I'd really like to see. I'd like to see some new Necrons. I'd like to see them replace the flayed ones. I'll be honest. I'd like to replace everything they're doing with Fine Cast. I'd like to see them replace them with plastic. And I know that's a pipe dream, and that'll take forever to do it. But eventually, I'd like to see them do it. I'd like to be able to get all the Primarchs on the board. I mean, all the ones that aren't dead, I'd like to see them in 40K. I'm hoping that this Psychic Awakening, he had to go, Vay. I don't know. He said he had some stuff and some people waiting on him, so he had to go. So, I don't know. Sorry. I'd like to think that the Psychic Awakening is going to open up a lot of possibilities. I know there's at least one person I've spoken to that actually is concerned because of what happened with Warhammer Fantasy, that they're concerned that this is going to build up to the end times so they can end 40K and start it over. I think with as well as 40K is doing right now, I think that's idiotic. I don't think they would do that to themselves. That'd be cutting their own throat. especially since they announced Warhammer Legends, which is what they're going to do with all their old-timey figures. I think if this set is going to do anything, I think if Psychic Awakening is going to do anything to, because it is supposed to shake up the game. It's supposed to massively shake up the game. I think one of the things it's going to do, I think it's going to take a lot of older figures and move them into Legends. I think it's going to move a lot of figures into Legends. I think we're going to see a lot of the older figures go away. I think it's going to get to the point where they're going to stop producing them. I know one of my big concerns, one of my personal big concerns, is that it's going to kill the tacticals. That one of the outcomes of this is going to kill off the tacticals, and the tacticals and the non-Primaris Marines are going to stop being, and they're all going to be moved into Legends. And for me personally, that's a problem because I play Space Wolves, and half their army are, half of their units, they're like day-to-day bread and butter units, are non-Primaris. Between the Long Fangs, the Grey Hunters, and the Wolfen and Smash Captains, I mean, all four of those are key points of the Space Wolves. On the other hand, the Space Wolves also have a ton of named characters. So I don't want to think that they're going to completely go away from Marines. I mean, they just released the rulebook, still has updated basic Marines rules in it, so I don't think they would do it. But part of me is worried about it, that within the next 5 years, we're going to see tacticals go away. And we're just going to see the figures get bigger and bigger. If they do that, they got to give us more options. I think the Eldar need more options out of Finecast. I don't know. I'm excited for Psychic Awakening. I'm just curious. Along with the rest of the 40K world, I'm buzzing with what is this going to mean? What's this going to mean for my army? When is my army going to get its update? And these last 2 months, since they started talking about the Psychic Awakening and they started doing they started doing the Marine updates, which are my armies, it's like Space Wolves are going to be one of the last they're going to update. They were the last Imperium Codex to come out. And they had to FAQ them on release because there were misprints inside. They had to errata them on release because the way they were written in the book on release were wrong. And they had to change it right off the bat. So I guess that's part of the other reason why I want to get another Dark Imperium box. I've got a perfectly fine and happy Space Wolves Marine army. Maybe I want to create another army. Maybe I want to build my own with my own custom paint job. Do my own army thing. Because my Space Wolves are by the colors. I mean, they are Space Wolves straight up. And they are my first love, but kind of want to play with them new Imperium rules. So, it's the nature of the game. I don't want to get rid of my wolves. I just want to play another army. I want to build another army. I want to paint another army. Flip side of that is Age of Sigmar. If I really need my fix, I can go to Age of Sigmar. We got a box set for that. I still haven't touched them that much. I think we built maybe 5 or 6 figures. They're cool looking figures. The Death Haunt or the Night Haunt are really cool looking figures. Those are going to be Lady Dragons. I think that's what she's really set on for Age of Sigmar. I really like the Sigmarites too. There's actually not really bad figures all around. That is the point of Games Workshop. Stuff they've produced in the last 5 years, I don't think there's a single bad figure. Anything they've sculpted in the last 5 years have been awesome across the board. They're just when they started using the CAD to design the figures, there's a lot of complaints about the monopose. And you know what? I don't mind the monopose. I understand the argument against it because they're not including as much bits. The figures aren't as customizable as they used to be. I'm building a set of Eldar using the old kits. They're not that customizable. They're all pretty much the same. I just built a bunch of Marines. I just built a ton of Marines. If you put your own bits on a figure, you make it customizable. They've got upgrade kits. And if that's not enough, there's a lot of bits companies out there. That's on purpose, I think. I think they build the figures kind of generic so that somebody who's new to the hobby and wants to build a figure isn't over inundated with, oh my God, how do I build this thing? He's got so many pieces and bits and parts, and they get overwhelmed. How do I make the figure simple so when you're starting in the hobby, you know what you're doing? And then as you get into the hobby and you understand it better and you like it better and you know it better and you can pick better and you've had more talent, then you can go, well, I want to make this guy mine, so I'm going to add these extra bits. And that's pretty cool. I like the upgrade kits. I like the upgrade kits for just that purpose. And I like the fact that there's enough third-party Cromlech, Stormcrow, just the two off the top of my head, just those two. If you want to play orcs and don't want to make them look like the average GW orc, they have so many good bits as a figure builder. Those are just gorgeous. Ray is building an entire Imperial Guard army, and he's using about 30% Games Workshop pieces. His first unit, his command squad, that's Imperial Guard. A couple of his vehicles are command squad. That's a couple of vehicles are GW bits. He just bought a bunch of infantry that are compatible and look like Imperial Guard, but they're kind of not Imperial Guard, and they're a little more upgraded, a little bit more cool looking. But you put them on the table, they're Imperial Guard. It's very obvious they're Imperial Guard, but they're a little bit more customized. Ray's not playing in an ITC. He's not going to be playing in he's going to be playing at a regional tournament or a qualifier tournament or anything like that. He wants to play the game and play the game. So he's building figures he wants to play with. He's building figures that he wants that look like what he wants them to look like. I can't fault him for that. I mean, I use these Spellcrow bits, and I mean, this guy looks great. And yeah, he's got a GW sword arm and a GW gun and a GW head. But other than that, that's all Cromlech. Or not Cromlech, that's Spellcrow. This is an absolutely fabulous Terminator. The only GW piece on here is the head that I took from the Demon Prince box. The rest of this figure is a third-party figure. It's amazing. And it's not to say that Games Workshop figures are bad, because they're not. They're wonderful. But if you're not competing, if you're not playing at a regional level, at an ITC level, where you're playing where, people are looking at what are all these bits on these figures. As long as you're playing, what you see is what you get. This is a Chaos Lord in Terminator armor with a Stormbolter and a relic weapon. Anybody can look at this figure and go, that's what that is. This is a Plague Marine with a Plague Knife and a Blight Launcher. You can look at it and you can see that's what it is. I think as long as you're playing, what you see is what you get. It's by the rules. I've kind of changed my tune on this. I think that's fine. I think as long as you can see what it is and you can play what it is, you can tell. I think playing the same figures over and over and the same, half dozen figures being reused. And that is the issue with them doing the monopose and the single builds. And I can understand why for a sanctioned fight, like for something that they're overseeing, that you have to be using Games Workshop figures. It's their company, they're sponsoring the tournament, they want to see their figures. That makes sense. That makes good business sense. If I'm playing at the corner store and my figures are recognizable what they are, play them. I guess that comes back. We come full circle as we come to the end of our 9 o'clock hour and near the end of our chat tonight. I think we come back on full circle as to what we started off talking about, which is playing the game. Play the game. It's great to build armies. It's great to paint figures. It's great to build figures and plan out and strategize and do the numbers and do the math hammer and put that all together. And that's true for any miniatures wargaming. It's great to do this part of the hobby. But just remember, that's an ends to a means. The whole reason you're doing this is so that you can roll some dice and kill somebody else. And if you get a game out of it, then you're going in the right direction. And everyone should play more. Everyone should play more. And I don't just mean 40K. I mean play. Play more. As I get older, I look at how much of my life I have spent not playing. How much of my life I've spent working, fixing things in my house, working a second job, running around running errands. Watching TV mindlessly. Just, it's on, I'll just watch TV. Doing idle things to pass time. And I look at that time now and go, should have played more. Playing whatever. Board games. Single player board games. Multiplayer board games. War games. Role-playing games. Play more. Everyone should play more. When you play more, it lightens your heart. It reminds you of the wonder of being a kid when you could play and pretend. And I think that is the key to any sort of playing. So, this is Big D. And today is Talk Tuesday. And as always, epic your board and epic your game. And play that game. Game on, folks. Have a great night. We'll see you next week.